When you think of classic Hollywood bad boys, names like Humphrey Bogart, Edward G. Robinson, and James Cagney might come to mind. But off-screen, these legendary actors were far from the tough guys they portrayed on film. Robinson, for example, was an avid art collector. Cagney was famed for his commitment to sobriety and his outspoken views towards alcohol, and Humphrey Bogart's hobbies included reciting the works of Shakespeare and mastering the game of chess. But one Hollywood legendary ruffian was just as tough in real life as he was on the silver screen. Robert Mitchum was a hardy hellhound who was irresistible to the ladies and constantly defying the status quo. Granted, younger Facts Verse viewers are probably less familiar with Mitchum's work. After all, he was born 103 years ago, but his career spanned a half-century and he starred in at least 67 films. He wasn't just a heartthrob, he was also a well-polished performer who took his work very seriously and never settled for subpar. Although to Mitchum, acting wasn't a particularly hard profession. It came easily to him, almost as if he was born to be in the limelight. Some of his best-known films include 1947's Out of the Past, 1956's The Night of the Hunter, 1962's Cape Fear, and 1966's El Dorado. He's regarded by many critics as one of the greatest actors of the golden age of Hollywood. AFI listed Mitchum at number 23 of their 100 Years, 100 Stars list. He is a recipient of the coveted Cecil B. DeMille Award in honor of his lifetime of achievement. Simply put, Hollywood would not have been the same without him. Mitchum passed away in 1997. Eventually, a lifetime of heavy smoking caught up with him. But his spirit lives on in our collective memories. Let's take a closer look back at his life and career. There's bound to be a few things about Robert Mitchum you've never heard before, so let's get to it. Mitchum once threw a crew member into a river. Mitchum was originally cast in the John Wayne and Lauren Bacall film Blood Alley. He got fired from the role for a particularly absurd reason as well. The film was produced by John Wayne's production company, Batjack, and Mitchum was Wayne's first pick for the lead role. Robert was excited about the part. Around that time, Mitchum would even show up to press interviews in costume to help hype the film. One afternoon, however, after filming had wrapped up for the day, Mitchum was invited to a Coast Guard luncheon by the San Francisco Bay Area as a guest of honor. Apparently, he had a few too many drinks and started causing trouble. He got into a verbal altercation with one of the crew members and the production manager of the film, and things quickly started going downhill. He got so upset he lifted the crew member up in the air and threw him into a river. Needless to say, he was promptly fired, and John Wayne himself ended up playing the lead role in that film. He served on a chain gang as a teenager. Mitchum was born August 6, 1917 in Bridgeport, Connecticut. He was a troublemaker from an early age. His father, a railroad worker, was killed in a freak accident when he was just a tot, and he was shipped off to live with his grandparents when he was 12. At school, Mitchum loved to prank his fellow students and faculty members. This led to him getting expelled from middle school and later on from high school as well after getting into a fistfight with his principal. After getting kicked out of high school, he turned to a rough and tumble traveling life on the road. He hopped freight trains all across America like something out of an old Hank Williams song. When he was 15, his nomadic lifestyle caught up to him when he received a vagrancy charge while traveling through the Deep South. He was placed in a chain gang to serve out his sentence. But even lock and chain couldn't keep Mitchum tied to one place. He escaped from his incarceration, hitchhiked back up north, and rode the High Line all the way back west towards California. He got busted for smoking marijuana. Mitchum's drug of choice was cannabis. He always had a little grass on him, so it was only a matter of time before law enforcement caught him with the green stuff. In the 1940s, Mitchum's career was blossoming. He had a string of commercially successful films like Crossfire and Out of the Past that helped elevate his career and make him a household name. On September 1, 1948, while visiting some friends at the house of Lila Leeds in Hollywood, the police rushed in and raided the home. Mitchum was arrested along with Leeds and 2 other folks. Mitchum was sure a possession charge would have a devastating effect on his film career. When the investigator asked him his name, age, and occupation, Mitchum referred to himself as a former actor, thinking he'd never work a day again in Hollywood. To his surprise, however, his career wouldn't only survive the incident, but the arrest and subsequent prison time he'd served would only make him a bigger star. He had seriously underestimated the appeal of the bad boy image. In the future, he'd use his reputation to his advantage. By the way, if you're enjoying this video so far, make sure you give it a like and subscribe to our channel and keep watching to learn all about Robert Mitchum's lifelong struggle with the bottle. Mitchum was an amateur boxer. During the Great Depression, Mitchum would volunteer for Roosevelt's Civilian Conservation Corps. He was sent to the forest right outside Chino, California in San Bernardino County in 1936. The work was labor-intensive and stressful, so at night the camp crew would hold amateur boxing fights to blow off a little steam. And of course, Mitchum was pretty good at it. In fact, he was such a good fighter, he would end up leaving the Conservation Corps to travel around California as a semi-pro boxer, earning himself a cool $25 a fight. He might not have ever found his way to Hollywood if he hadn't sustained a rather grisly injury in the ring, fighting a middleweight, and subsequently retired from the sport. The third act was the charm. Getting caught with illicit substances didn't slow Mitchum's career, and neither did aging. He was like fine wine, he only got better with age. In the 60s, however, he must have felt as if his career was on the decline. Even though he had multiple high notes up until this point, his roles started drying up. This all changed in 1970 when he was cast in David Lean's Ryan's Daughter. Mitchum gave audiences one of the finest performances of his career. He followed that film up with Sidney Pollack's The Yakuza in 1974 and Michael Winner's The Big Sleep in 1978. The 80s were equally as good to Mitchum. He starred in The Agency and Night Kill in 1980 before making the leap from the silver screen to the TV screen to star in several critically acclaimed miniseries and TV films. In 1983, he starred in The Winds of War, and in '84, he wowed audiences in North and South. Mitchum's marriage to Dorothy Spence. Mitchum met his future wife, Dorothy Spence, when they were both still teenagers. Apparently, before they dated, Dorothy had dated Robert's brother, John. Mitchum and Dorothy tied the knot in 1940 when Robert was 23. Mitchum's proposal has to be one of the weirdest ones we've ever heard about. According to him, he told her that if she stuck with him, someday she'll be farting through silk, whatever that's supposed to mean. Well, the two remained married until Mitchum's passing. 57 years of marriage might sound pretty heartwarming, but Mitchum wasn't exactly a model husband. Over the decades, he carried on dozens of affairs outside his marriage. Spence was either very forgiving or just really liked those silk sheets. Mitchum was a heavy drinker. According to the biography of actor Jack Hawkins, while on the set of the 1963 film Rampage, Mitchum supposedly had a ritual of drinking 49 glasses of rum before dinner. While on the set of Blood Alley, before he got fired for the whole river incident, which, mind you, was also alcohol-fueled, Mitchum once completely destroyed a studio office in a drunken rage because his car wasn't ready yet. During the filming of The Big Sleep, Mitchum tried to impress his buddy Oliver Reed, who also had the reputation for being a heavy drinker, by slamming back an entire bottle of gin in just 55 minutes. It's a wonder how this guy didn't end up in the hospital with alcohol poisoning. When he drank, sometimes he would get violent. While attending a premiere party for the championship season, he got hammered and angrily threw a basketball at a female journalist's face, breaking several of her teeth in the process. She ended up suing him for the unprovoked attack and was awarded a sum equal to his entire salary for that film. Robert checked himself into the Betty Ford Center in 1984 to detox off of alcohol. It's unclear if this stint in rehab helped him overcome his affliction, but at least he realized he had a problem. Mitchum almost killed himself. Even though he was on top of the world and one of the finest actors of his generation, Mitchum suffered from a lot of self-doubt and regret. After several personal and financial setbacks, he considered offing himself while he was working on Ryan's Daughter in 1970. Screenwriter Robert Bolt heard about his friend's plan to take the easy way out and came to his aid. Bolt's idea of support, however, was bizarre at best and dangerous at worst. He told Mitchum he should go ahead and kill himself, but asked him to hold off until filming wrapped up on Ryan's Daughter. He told Mitchum that if he could hold out until then, he would personally pay for his funeral expenses. Fortunately, this tough love approach ended up being a success. Robert Mitchum certainly had his own unique brand of cool. His tough guy persona was far from an act. He was tough as rocks and cold as ice until he died. We wouldn't be surprised if he's still raising hell in the afterlife either. What do you think Robert Mitchum's best film was? Cape Fear or Out of the Past? Let us know what you think in the comments section. And make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to our channel while you're at it. Tap the bell icon to turn on notifications so you can keep up with all of our daily videos.